And now you can glue and nail this one together. I recommend putting a clamp on here. Make sure you put a couple of bits of scrap timber on the outside of your clamp so you don't mark the wood, because the more marks you put in, the more marks you've got to sand out later. And that's what it looks like. It will need to be evenly sanded and so on, because the cuts aren't exactly right, but I'll run a plane along there and a plane along there, and I'll sand the rest and we're all good. That's the middle leg done. You can leave that once you've planed it. Once it dries, you can plane it and sand it, prime it, and it's done. Until we put the foot on it, of course. Okay, now we're back on the legs again. What we're going to do here is, off your template you've got a marked centre hole here. We're going to put a 76mm hole right through here. It doesn't have to be 76mm, I just happen to have a 76mm hole saw. It can be 75, it can be 80, doesn't matter. It basically is just a clear area for wires to go through, and also so bolts don't foul on the outside disc, which we're going to put around here. It goes against R2's body. This is the inside that goes against R2's body. So that's a 136mm disc we're going to be cutting, so anything under that is fine. Before you do it though, just because you've got a mark there already, just get a ruler and just run a line straight through. It doesn't matter if it's this way or this way, as long as it's a straight line that goes through that centre point, because once you cut that hole, it's really hard to find the centre of a circle. This way you've got a centre line to work off. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get your compass out. Those. They cost $2 by the way. And scribe a circle 68mm radius. Set your compass to 68mm and then scribe a circle. You need 2 circles. The reason on these are on 2 separate pieces of wood is just that they're offcuts. These pieces are going to be 136mm diameter discs, which are shoulder discs that go up against the legs. And now we have 2 discs, 136mm diameter. Cut up as neat as you can because there's less sanding you have to do. I cut that with the jigsaw. This is 18mm MDF. You can use anything, 3/4 ply or something like that, but I had this so I used it. Now I'm going to show you how to get into 6 equal segments. Okay, first of all, you've got your centre point marks, so just get a ruler and draw a line through your centre point. If you put your ruler on the centre point, doesn't matter where it is on the disc, it'll be right through the middle. So you want a line going through. Okay, then you get your dividers and you set these to 68mm, which is the measurement from here to here, or you can just put in the centre and just evenly mark it. Then get the point and go from that point, mark 68, 68, 68, 68 all the way around, and you'll find that it's evenly marked. Then all you have to do is join those dots through the centre points, and you'll divide up into 6 equal parts. And there you have it. So this was my centre line, so I went from here to here, 68mm, from here to here, 68, and then did the same over here from there to there, and there to there, and then I just drew a line. Make sure you go through your centre point. If your mark's a little bit off, that's okay, just adjust it, but make sure it goes through your centre point, and it'll be even. Okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to put that disc, see the centre line and the centre line. I'm going to put the centre line on there like this. Make sure it lines up with the centre line that's there. I may not look at it on my phone, but it's lined up. Once it's lined up, all you have to do is measure from here and here, make sure they're the same measurement. So if that's 20mm and this is 25mm, it needs to be 22.5 to even it up. Just bring it across until it's 22.5 this side, 22.5 that side. Make sure your centre line's drawn, and then you can draw a circle around it. Once you've drawn around a circle, so you lined it up, measured each side and drew the circle, you just want to take it off. The only reason you're drawing a circle is to make sure that that's even all the way around, so you can measure from here to here, here to here, and so on. Make sure the measurements are the same. So you basically want that circle to be in the centre of that circle. If it's a little bit off, it doesn't really matter, because this really is just a clearance hole. It doesn't make any difference if it's a bit off left or right, but because your hole saw might have moved when you drill the hole. But this gives you the chance to correct it before we drill through here and put knock-in bolts on the other side. Once we drill through this and put this in, that's a fixed piece. It can come off again, but it's got to go back into that same spot. Now both discs are marked. I've come in 15mm along each line, and I've just drilled a small hole all the way through. I use the drill press, but you can use with a hand drill. Just make sure you hold your drill vertical, otherwise it's going to be a different measurement as it goes through. You want to keep it as straight as possible. So we'll be putting that back on there again afterwards, and I'll be clamping this and drilling through this piece as well. That way, the nuts and bolts that I'm going to put through here will match up every time. I found the best way to hold this basically is to just run some skinny screws into the timber below to hold that in place. You can drill these 4 holes, and you can move one of the screws and drill that one, and then move the other screw and drill that one. These of course are the pilot holes. So now we've got the start holes, and a pilot hole is just a beginning hole. So these holes mark where it needs to be, and then we drill the correct size holes through these holes. So now we have them all marked and all the way drilled through. What we'll be putting in next are these things here. These are called T-nuts. These are a 1/4 inch T-nut, and they've got teeth on the bottom and a thread on the top. So what you do is you drill a hole the size of this part here into the wood, and then you tap them in with a hammer, and they lock into place. Then we'll drill a slightly bigger hole through here, and a bolt will go through here into there, and we can take them on and off, and we'll know they're always in the right spot. Alright, now that I've knocked these in, as you can see they're all knocked in, you just hit them in with a hammer once you've drilled the holes, the bigger holes in. Before I drill bigger holes in here, I'm going to countersink the holes a little bit with that. It's a spade bit on the end of my drill. I'm going to go down about half the thickness, just so I can hide the whole head of the bolt inside the timber. You don't actually have to do that if you don't want. If you want to just leave it flush on the outside or with a spanner edge, you can do that, but I want to do it this way. Now we've drilled it. Now these are 1/4 inch bolts, 18mm long. Just to drop straight in there like that, so they don't stick up, and they stick out about that much. Then we're going to screw them to the legs. And there we have it. Screw it in nice and countersunk. Nothing sticking through. These are the shoulder plates that will go up against R2's body like this. Okay, now I'm going to put the leg together, all the 2 legs together with all the pieces, but we'll do it in stages. Now it's stage 1. So it's one piece of 18mm MDF, then another piece of 18mm MDF. You might have 2 in 1 or something like that, but if you've got 12mm, but I use 18 for this. Stage 1 of leg 1. Now we have the next skin on top. Now you want to make sure all your screw heads are countersunk underneath the level of the timber. At the end of the day, when we're finished, we'll be filling these, all the ones you can see that are exposed on the outside. There is no screws showing through on that side at all, which is what you want. We're now going to put this piece on. All you have to do is make sure every time you put a hole in, make sure it doesn't hit the screw that's underneath it. So make sure you always zigzag them so the screw underneath isn't in the way of the one that's going in next. And then we're going to put this piece on and then flip it over. Now we're going to turn it over. We put this piece on here. Now we're going to turn it over and work on the other face. Put this piece on here. There's that piece on there, so it looks like this. It's quite thick, it's quite heavy too. And then there is a hollow channel in there for all the wires, which will come out through a hole in the middle we're going to put in here later. Now we're getting somewhere. 2 R2 outside legs and his middle stump.